Hello and welcome to this video tutorial brought to you by tutvid.com. Today we're going to take a look at creating these 3D light ribs, I guess you could call them. I'm tempted to call them 3D light zips, but it seems like a lot of what I work with I end up calling zips or zipping things or other strange names like that. So I'm going to call these 3D light ribs because, they sort of line up like ribs. It's this particular assembly right here, this sort of flowing series of ribs that are fade to different colors and things like that. We create them in Adobe Illustrator. They're very, very easy to create and can be used very effectively and can really just add an extra bit of something to any design you're working on, web design. You can use them in all kinds of different things. So let's take a look at how we create these. Hop over here to Adobe Illustrator and we're going to go File, New. Create a document, really any size we want. In this case, I'm going to go with 800 by 600. I'm going to hit OK. So it opens a new document for me. I'm not going to create a black background, nothing like that. The only thing I want to do is make sure that my stroke up here on my color panel is set to black, and I'm going to choose my foreground color here, which is white, and I'm going to select this box with the slash going through it to get rid of my foreground color. I want only a stroke. That's it. Now the cool thing about this technique is you're not just limited to these lines. You can do all kinds of different shapes and all kinds of different cool effects here in Illustrator. Anything that can create a stroke, you can create this effect with, and you're going to see exactly what I mean. Let's go ahead and just use the pen tool and create a simple ribbing like I have here. Alright, I'm going to show you exactly how I created that one. Basically, I'm going to take the pen tool and I'm going to start by just clicking and dragging out a path. I'm going to drag this tangent handle straight up that way, and then I'm going to pull another tangent handle out this way. Alright, so you can see here, if I select my selection tool, the black arrow, and deselect, I have just this sort of curving line. Very nice. What I can do now is grab my direct selection tool, hotkey A, select the line, and just adjust these tangent handles. Alright, I'm going to adjust them sort of like that. There we go, very nice. The next thing I would do is select this and copy it. Command or Control C, and then just hit Command or Control V to just paste it anywhere. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate it, maybe sort of like this. I want these lines to intersect like that. Alright, very nice. Maybe I will actually stretch this up. Hold down the Alt or Option key and just pull this way and rotate it a little bit more, like that. There we go. So now that we've done that, all we need to use is the blend tool. It's this tool right here. Hotkey, I believe, is W. Yes, the hotkey is W. But before we end up using the blend tool, we need to double click it and set it up. So double clicking on the blend tool gives me my blend options dialog box. Set the spacing to specified steps. Typically I find somewhere between 10 and 20 works nice, but again it depends on the effect you're going for. You may be going for like a solid gradient look, and you can do that. Just throw 50 or 100 steps in, or however many steps it's going to take to get between your lines one solid color. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean in a second, but for now let's stick with the ribbing. So I'm going to go with about 15 here. Hit OK. Now I'm going to immediately switch back to my selection tool because you want to make sure you select both of the strokes you want to blend. And you can actually do multiple strokes. You can do 10 or 12 and just blend them according to these anchor points, just the way we're going to do it here. So with these selected, grab the blend tool and you want to select corresponding anchor points. Like I want this anchor point to blend to that anchor point. That's going to give me a straight line of ribbing. So I'm going to click that anchor point and then click that anchor point. You can see it gives me this nice, just sort of ribbed effect. Now, if I were to select, let's say, this anchor point down here and the anchor point way up here, it would twist these around and flip them into all different shapes and really give me a crazy effect. Again, maybe an effect I'm going for. Here, I don't think I'm going to go with it. But here's another really cool thing about these blends. This blend is sort of like live artwork here in Illustrator to a certain extent. If we grab the direct selection tool, we can select either of these strokes and change the stroke color. And not only does it change the color of the stroke, but it changes the fading. You can see this is fading from green to black. So what I could do here, presumably, is give this a nice dark blue up top and select this one on the bottom and give it more of a light blue, maybe almost aqua, and you can see it just fades very nicely from color to color, just like that. Alright, let's just grab this blend and push it aside for a moment. I didn't want to do that. Just grab the blend and push it aside for the moment. What we want to do is grab, let's say, the spiral tool, and just draw out a spiral, like so. And I'm going to draw out another spiral over here. Okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this spiral over here, and just flip it like this. This is just to really just show you what else can be done with this. And here, because I know that I can change my colors later on, maybe I wouldn't change them, but I actually am going to here. I'm going to go with a dark green to a much lighter green, like so. Alright, I'm going to select both of them, I'm going to grab my blend tool, and I'm just going to go from this point here to this point right up here. You can see it's going to give me this sort of crazy effect. So maybe this isn't that appealing, but you know, you can do all kinds of really, really cool things. So again, back to that gradient effect I was talking about a moment ago. Let's grab the line tool. I'm going to create this line here, and then I'm going to pull out a line here and just push it down, 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 like so. And I'm going to make that line come right through. Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm going to set it up like this, and I'm going to drag it right down and just make it come right through here like so. Maybe pull this up a little bit higher like that. And so we're setting up this sort of simple blend here. It's going to sort of look like it's bending around a corner. All right, I'm going to select both of these guys, double click on the blending tool, and increase the specified steps to something more like 100. All right, and I'm just going to blend right from this point to this point. And as things stand, it's giving me a solid green shape. Not particularly what I want, but it makes me happy to know that I can just select this point up top, darken that green up, and you can see I get this nice fading gradient that looks like I've spent a lot of time creating the shape, when in fact it's just using the blend tool to create this sort of ribbing. It's just tons of little ribs. So now that we've done that, we know how to create this in in Illustrator. We want to copy this over to Photoshop. We're going to copy the ribbing one over to Photoshop. But this is a very good technique to know, this solid color gradient. You can create all kinds of very cool logos using this technique, and just cool artwork in general. So it's good to know that. We're going to select this guy here, just Command or Control C, copy, come over here to Photoshop. I'm actually going to open up my layers panel here and get rid of all of these light zips we've created before, or light ribs as I'm going to start calling them. And I'm just going to paste this guy right in. I'm actually going to create a new layer and just paste him. And we're going to paste it as pixels. Hit OK. And we're going to make it a little bit bigger than it is now. So up here in width and height, maybe make it 150% by 150%. Again, if we want to size it down, we will size it down. Hit Enter, return to commit those changes. And there we go. We have this. Very nice. I can delete layer 4 here now. All right, and basically what I'm going to do is zoom out and just slide this guy down here. Oh, not that guy. Wrong layer, or wrong layer group. We're going to select layer 5 here and drag him right down here. All right, very nice. Now, something we may want to do is blur this a little bit, but before we blur it, hit Command or Control J to duplicate it to a new layer. And typically when I'm creating these blurs, I like to desaturate the layer on top. So Command Shift or Control Shift U to desaturate. You can see that gives me sort of a bland gray. I want this to be white. So I'm going to select this top layer, hit Command or Control U to open up my hue saturation dialog box, and just bump the lightness all the way up. You can see there, definitely it's white. I'm going to shut off the top layer and select the bottom layer, go Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and blur it by about 2 pixels, maybe 1 would be better. Go 2, maybe even 3 now that I'm looking at it. We're going to stick with 2. And there we go. I'm going to turn on the top layer again, and we're just going to set this layer to something like Overlay. And you can see it's going to give us sort of this cool, almost electrical effect. What we can do at this point is select both of these layers, group them, Command or Control G. We can name it Ribs, and just give it a layer mask. And grab our brush, set the black, flow. I'm going to increase it somewhere around 40, and just fade out these edges. Maybe fade out the very center, and fade out this edge over here. So just like that, we've incorporated these pretty cool 3D looking ribs using Adobe Illustrator, and because it's vector artwork over here, we could save this file and use it in a whole myriad of projects. But you can use this in your Illustrator or Photoshop projects, and the blend tool is something that Photoshop does not have. So very cool effects you can create with that blend tool here in Adobe Illustrator. And again, we could copy this little guy over as well. So keep that in mind as you're working on logos and websites and compositions, and there's probably room for it in photo compositions and all kinds of different photography. So that is the way I create these sort of 3D rib effects. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you learned a thing or two. And please go check out the website. That's www.tutvid.com. Thanks for watching.